see this day but once. If there's any kindness I can show, let me show it now. For I'll never see this day again. Hi everybody, welcome to another episode of the Debby Campbell Goodtime Show. And I am so excited to interview this guest today. He feels like family because I've known most of his family my whole life, growing up with them all. But anyway, his story is really something, and I can't wait to tell it to y'all today. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show, Billy Burnette. Hi, Billy.
Hello, Debbie. How are you?
I'm great. How are you today?
I'm good today. Thank you.
Yeah, welcome to the show. I read your book. Oh my gosh. Crazy Like Me. Love it, love it, love it.
Thank you so much.
And we're here to talk about you, but before we do that, there's some really great stories at the beginning of your book, like the one where your grandparents, your dad's parents, Dorsey, were driving from, so I guess they'd gone to Houston to try and find work, and they didn't find it. So they went back to Memphis where y'all were living, and that's where you were born. And they picked up a hitchhiker. And, you know, they took him on into Memphis with them. And then days later, they were looking in the paper, and there was a picture of a bank robber, pretty, what was his name?
Pretty Boy Floyd.
Right. And they didn't, and that was the guy that they had picked up. And I'm like, oh my God, that was hysterical. Yeah. You know, and then also the story about your mom playing basketball with Elvis. Because
they grew, my mom grew up right across the street from the Lauderdale courts.
Okay.
And my dad and uncle, Johnny Burnette and Dorsey Burnette, they had a band called Johnny Burnette and the Rock and Roll Trio.
Okay.
So Elvis would come by all the time and just hang out. And my dad would run him off sometimes because they were trying to rehearse and whatever. But my mom and dad both grew up with Elvis. In fact, I met him when I was a little kid.
Right.
And he had a teddy bear out, and he tried to give me a teddy bear. My dad said, "You don't need that teddy bear."
Don't you wish you had that? Oh my God.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what happened there, but yeah.
That's funny. So you're actually third. Dorsey
William
Burnette.
Third, yeah.
Right. So now your son Billy is a junior because
he's the fourth.
Right. Okay. So you don't call him junior?
My dad was a junior.
Okay.
Dorsey, and I'm Dorsey the third. So
right. So Billy.
I didn't have a name when Billy was born, so I go, let's call him the fourth.
That's funny. Now you're the oldest of 7 kids, 6 boys, 1 girl.
Yeah.
Right. Wow. Incredible. You
were
a
madhouse.
I bet it was. And you recorded your first record at 7 years old. Is that correct?
Yeah, I don't even hardly remember recording my first record. I was so young. I did it at Gold Star there in Hollywood, you know.
Right. Now, was that with Ricky Nelson's band?
Yeah, it was all of Ricky Nelson's band. James Burton and Joe Osborne,
wow.
Wendy Hardin, and those guys. And they were. It sounds like a Rick Nelson record when you put it on today. It was for Dot Records, and it was 1960.
Wow. Oh,
and
wow.
boy, was Hollywood different then. It was so glamorous, and it was everything you thought Hollywood would be at the time, you know.
Right. I mean, you grew up right at the right time, Billy. I mean, you were right there in the middle of Memphis Mafia and all that.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
All them guys, whenever Elvis would say they've got to go hang out somewhere else for a while, they'd throw them out of the house. They'd come over and stay with us.
Right. Oh,
like Red West and Lamar Fike and all them guys, you know, or like the Memphis Mafia was like, I grew up with those guys, you know.
Right. And now for those of you listening, you might not know that Billy's dad was Dorsey Burnette and his uncle was Johnny Burnette. And those were the famous Burnette brothers. And their music was termed kind of rockabilly, would you say?
It was early on, it was called rockabilly out of Memphis. I mean, they started like 53, 54 around the time I was born.
Right.
And then they wrote the Rick Nelson hits out in L.A.
Mm-hmm.
They went to Hollywood in like 58, 59, and they wrote It's Late.
Right.
Believe What You Say, and some of Rick's biggest hits,
Right. I like the story how Rockabilly came about because I loved Rocky.
Rocky Burnett's my cousin.
Right. And
Who
then
had
you
the song
Billy. So then
Tired
it's
of Going
Rockabilly.
On. I
I
love
guess
Rocky. I just talked to him the other night.
oh, I just love Rocky. I grew up with him.
Yeah, we were born a month apart, and they wrote the song about us called Rockabilly Boogie.
Oh, nice. I didn't know that.
That's where a lot of people think that name Rockabilly came from.
Right.
Because that was the first time it was ever used in a song, for sure.
Right. I wonder how it would have went. I wonder how it would have went Billy Rock. Since you were older, Billy Rock. But
it doesn't sound as good for some reason.
Exactly. Now you've had quite a career. You opened or toured with Brenda Lee when you were 12 years old.
Yeah, I opened for her. I hardly remember any of that, but Brenda used to come on, and I used to come on right before the commercial and do about 15, 20 minutes.
Right.
And we went to Tokyo, and we went to Okinawa, all over the Far East with Brenda.
Oh, how fun.
I was just a little kid, performing at the time.
Right.
And I remember my manager at the time was Dub Albrecht.
Okay.
He managed Brenda for a long time.
Right.
And he started off in the circuses with Colonel Tom Parker. And so while we were in Tokyo, we were staying at the Noho Tani Hotel, and the Beatles were in the next floor above us. So it was about 64, 65, somewhere in there.
Right.
And so my manager had a meeting with the Beatles manager and told them to, not go on TV too much. He said for them to do a couple of things and then stay home, because me and Brenda just talked about that. I see her all the time at the functions in Nashville, at the CMAs, or the BMI Awards, or something like that.
Her guitar player, Tom, do you know him?
I don't know the current one.
Yeah, Tom. He played on my CD that I did.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and I guess he plays with Brenda and he plays with BJ Thomas, so that's pretty
okay. I know both of them really well.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So you got your first deal when you were 16, and you signed with Dub at that time, didn't you?
Well, my first actual record deal was when I was 7 with Dot.
Right. Okay.
But then I didn't perform again then till I did a lot of performing on kids shows and stuff like that.
Right.
I did a record with Herb Albert of Herb Albert and the Tijuana Brass.
Right.
And it was just Herbie, Leon Russell, and myself as a little kid. Did a Dr. Zeus song called Just Because We're Kids.
Oh,
and it was 3 artists on the label at the time. Was Herb Albert, the Tijuana Brass.
Right.
The Baja Marimba Band, and Young Billy Bow. So
Funny.
so they were they offered my dad a part of the company, and he said he'd rather just stay an artist or whatever, didn't want to get in the business side of it.
Oh, that's right. I think I remember them asking if your dad wanted to be a producer. Was that it? Yeah.
Well, they asked him if he wanted to head up Warner Brothers at the time.
Oh, wow. Oh, my goodness.
Yeah. So I think Jimmy Bowen ended up getting that gig.
And he did very well, didn't he?
Yeah, he was dabbling in all kind of stuff. He came home and brought a record one day and said, "This kid's just a couple of years older than you, but he really sings great, Billy." And then I listened to it, and his name was Stevie Wonder.
Oh, my goodness.
And had written the song and produced it for him.
Right.
In L.A., and that was the first time it was Stevie's first album called Stevie at the Beach, and my dad had a song in there called Sad Boy.
Okay. So when you signed with Warner Brothers, then I guess they pitched you a song called Windy.
Yes.
And you said, no, thank you. It sounds too pop or bubblegum.
Well, I was trying to be more rock and roll even then.
Right.
It's kind of like rock and roll's in my DNA. So they pitched me this song, and I go, I don't want to do any bubblegum.
Well, it became a big hit, didn't it?
Yeah, it was a huge hit. I made a big mistake there. Of course, who knows? I might not have done the Mac thing or all that other stuff. Everything in life, I guess, kind of happens for a reason.
Exactly. That was with the association. But, you stayed true to yourself. I mean,
I'm still trying to figure it out. I can't even figure out what to do next now,
I know. That's why I'm doing this show. I had to figure something to do,
Yeah.
No, but so now in the 70s, you had a lot to do with the Palomino Club.
Oh, I was like, I'm nearly the house band there. Yeah.
Right,
We
exactly.
opened
Now,
for Linda Ronstadt and Jimmy Buffett, and we
right,
played for my dad there a lot. In
right,
fact, Glenn used to come out and join us there a lot,
right.
and Roger Miller, and it was like kind of. And we had a couple of Beatles in the house, a couple of nights, and
Oh,
it was
neat.
the Palomino was a really popular club in L.A.
Yeah,
When
I
people
went
got
there with
off the
Dad
plane,
one time. Yeah,
if they were on the plane, and getting in, the first place they'd come is the Palomino.
right. And then, of course, Jerry Lee Lewis, Merle Haggard, Willie, they'd all come in and probably
They'd
sing with
all
you, I
play
bet.
there, yeah.
Yeah, oh my gosh, yeah. Now, in 71,
In fact,
Chip,
I don't mean to interrupt you, but
no, you're fine.
we had my son is now actually 44, and we had his baby shower at the Palomino.
I bet that was fun.
That was
Yeah.
fun, yeah.
Was it all decorated up like a baby shower or just?
Yeah, they had it kind of decorated like a baby shower that day, yeah.
Oh, how fun. Well, that's something good for Billy to remember. I mean,
Yeah.
that's a neat thought. Now, you ended up in 1971 working with Chips. Is it Mo Man?
Chips Mommin, yeah.
Mommin, okay. And he
Mommin.
produced Elvis,
Okay.
one of Elvis's Suspicious Minds.
When I got there, they had just cut Elvis like a year before on Suspicious Minds and The Ghetto, and a lot of like one of his best records. It kind of like brought him back to the pop radio and everything.
Right.
And Chips had a lot of hits at the time. He was produced B.J. Thomas, Hooked on a Feeling, and
Right.
they had done the Box Tops, The Letter there, and just a lot of stuff. So thought I was going to the right place, but wasn't in the stars at the time. It was like going to college for me, really, because I was a week out of high school, and my dad took me down to meet Chips, and I was on a plane a week later.
Yeah. And you worked with him quite a bit. You did you sang background music, but then I think you moved.
I sang background on a Gary Stewart record, on usually things I've written, and Town Van Zandt, and worked the machine on a song called Good Time Charlie's Got the Blues.
Right.
And I did whatever, you did whatever you could back then. I was signed as an artist and a writer.
Right. And didn't Chips, he was responsible, for your first Billy Burnette self-titled album?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. And then I guess Memphis Radio wouldn't play you?
Memphis Radio wouldn't play our record, no. It was kind of like too progressive for them. So Chips packed up the studio and moved to Atlanta.
I think that's funny that you just pack up a studio that's been there for however many years and just.
The guys weren't overly happy about it. I wasn't either. It was because I didn't know what was going on,
Right. But eventually, I guess he moved it to Nashville.
Yes.
Yeah.
He moved to Nashville. Then he started cutting Willie Nelson and Waylon Jennings, and they did the Willie and Waylon thing there. He did the Highwaymen, and
right.
Chips actually done somebody wrong song.
And didn't he write Lukenbach, Texas?
He wrote Lukenbach, Texas. Yes.
That was incredible. That was a great song for him. Oh my gosh.
He also produced You Were Always on My Mind by Willie, which was a huge record.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
One song of the year and everything.
Right. Oh my gosh, yeah. And then also you had a cut on Charlie. Was it you that had the cut on the Charlie Rich song before he passed away?
Yeah, his last single was a song that me and myself and Johnny Christopher had written.
Wow, that's awesome. What was the name of that song? I can't remember right off.
It's called Are We Dreaming the Same Dream?
Okay. Yeah,
it was a country record.
He's getting the Lifetime Achievement Award this year in Arkansas.
Is he really?
Yeah, and his son's going to come and perform. I think that's going to be really cool.
Yeah, I know him. In fact, we stopped by Charlie's house one time when I was a little kid.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's neat. You hung out with a lot of notable people.
Oh, yeah. Well, your dad was one of my favorites. Gosh, I mean.
Right, but I mean like Jeff Bridges, Gary Busey.
Oh, yeah.
I mean.
Those are people we hung out all night, late at night, in the Malibu. I lived in Malibu for a while, so we just kind of go from house to house at night and party every night,
I don't think Malibu is anything like it was back then.
No, it couldn't be like that now.
No, not at all. Not at all.
Now,
you've also had cuts. Roy Orbison cut one of your songs.
Yes, that was a pretty major deal because that day I was in the studio with Roy, we David Malloy and myself went over to teach the song to Roy, and he said, I want you to play on it." So I ended up playing on it, and Rick Vito, who also joined Fleetwood Mac, was on the session, and Jim Keltner. And I called home for some reason that day, and then who was my girlfriend, who later became my wife, was Chris, said, "Mick Fleetwood's been looking for me." So I called Mick right there in the studio. I think we were in Ocean Way in LA. Called Mick, and Mick said, "We need for you to join the band," you know. So that was a pretty good day, getting a Roy Orbison cut, and being asked to join Fleetwood Mac all in the same day, you know.
Exactly. Now, was that when you got signed with Columbia? Was that around the same time?
No, this was, I was signed at the time to MCA Records.
Okay.
MCA Curve. And I was doing my records in LA.
Right.
And I wrote one with Steve Cropper, who's a great songwriter, which happened to get on the country charts. And I was nominated for Best New Vocalist of the Year, along with Randy Travis, and T. Graham Brown, Marty Stewart.
Wow.
And Keith Whitley and myself.
Yeah. Wow.
And Randy Travis won that year.
So what was the song? What did he win?
Was that I got mad because I didn't win, and I joined Fleetwood Mac the next year.
Well, I gotta tell you, when I was reading through your book, and I saw that when you got that big deal with Columbia Records, that Susie Frank and Jerry Seidel were your managers.
Yes.
Well, I said, Susie Frank, I wonder if that's my Susie Frank. So I immediately got on the phone and called Susie, and I said, "Susie, did you used to manage Billy?" She goes, "Yeah, I did. In fact, he got married in the backyard of my Encino home."
Wow, we did. That's right.
She's the one that's responsible for her and two other people found my ghostwriter for my book that I wrote.
Oh, that's fabulous.
I know. And in fact, I just talked to Susie the other day. I'm like, "Oh my God, I'm interviewing Billy." She goes, "Oh, I just love Billy. He's like my son."
I love Susie. She's the greatest. Yeah.
She is. And you had a horrible accident, and it was at her house.
I was watching her house, and I was being a good boy that one night, you know. It was one of the few nights I was.
Press one.
So I walked through a window at her house, and she had them old windows. She lived in Encino, California.
Right.
I walked through the window and cut my leg half off, you know. And they told me at the time I'd never walk again on that leg. So it was kind of a miracle that it came back, because I refused to believe that, and went to every neurosurgeon in the country until I found this Dr. Klein, that worked in a free clinic down in New Orleans. So I had just done, in fact, the first person that asked me to do anything with Fleetwood Mac was Lindsey Buckingham.
Right.
So I went to New York with him and Mick and did Saturday Night Live. And on the way home, stopped off at Ochsner Clinic down at New Orleans. And the Mardi Gras had just started. So it was quite an ordeal. So he said it would take the width of my finger for the nerve to grow back. And it actually came back.
It was a long time coming, but you hid that from a lot of people when you were
I hid it from everybody.
Right, yeah.
Nobody knew that. In fact, people were wondering why I wore high socks to the pool. So I never would, you know, I had it all figured out. I learned how to walk with the brace on, and then I hit it while we were filming Saturday Night Live. Hit it on the corner table. I thought I was going to die, you know.
Right.
But everything was all right after that. It was like I went back to work, and we were doing, I think we did a Beach Boy tour with the Zoo, and the Zoo was kind of an opening act for whoever wanted us, you know. Right.
Who was in that band?
It was Kenny Gradney, myself. It was Kenny Gradney, Mick Fleetwood, Steve Ross, myself, and then we changed around bass players. George Hawkins was in it for a while, who's passed away since then, great bass player. And it was kind of the fun band, because Stevie Nicks would sit in with us, and Christy McVie sat in with us. And that one record we were doing where Glen came to the session that night, was a Zoo record I was recording in Phoenix.
Oh, okay. When Mick was there?
And Mick and Christine and Lindsay were there. The whole Fleetwood Mac band was there, except for John and Stevie.
So that was probably around 1982.
That was around that time, yes.
Yeah, yeah. Because that's when Cal was born, and I think that's when we had talked.
You know what? He had just had a baby.
Which would have been Cal, and he was in 1982, yeah.
So I knew Glenn really well, and Steve Turner brought him over, his drummer.
Right.
And they hung over, and I saw I'm out in the studio, and I see through the control room, Glenn and Steve were there, and Steve and we were like great friends.
And didn't Steve do things with you before that?
Yeah, he was in my band when Roger took the whole band.
Right.
I actually had to join the band because the whole band was working for Roger, and then they all went to work for Glenn.
Right,
So
exactly.
I didn't go there. In fact, I was on the phone with your dad. He was trying to talk me out of doing the thing with Chips and let him help me out, and I really appreciate that. I probably, should have done that at the time, but in hindsight, I'm,
a young kid wanting to, you had such great mentors around you. Oh my gosh, yeah. Your dad, your uncle, Dad, Roger Miller. I mean, so many great mentors that, But
Glenn was Glenn was probably my favorite singer of all time and still is.
Yes. I mean, gosh, Dad had all around talent, on top of keeping the nice guy, nice person.
I could play him a song one night and he would play it back to me the next night, just perfect.
Right, because he didn't read music.
His brain was like incredible.
Exactly. Wow. I know. Now, you went on the road, actually, with Fleetwood Mac, 1987 to 1995?
1987, I officially joined the band.
Right.
In fact, after Mick asked me to join, I had to call, I was with Mike Curb, MCA.
Right.
So I had to call Mike that night and say, listen, I have to get out of my deal because I've been asked to join Fleetwood Mac. And Mike was so gracious to let me
that's
out.
Awesome.
Give me a big favor. And I was with him till about from 87 to 95.
Okay.
So I ended up, and I worked with some, I had done a duet with Stevie and sang on Christine's record and wrote for Christine and wrote with Mick and, just kind of like, I was just part of the family, so I just kind of backed into that gig. Because
how about you, Mick? How'd you like to hear a little blues today? About the shape I'm in, I can't sing, I ain't pretty, and my legs are thin. But don't ask me what I think of you, I might not give the answer that you want me to. Oh well, oh well.
It's really weird. It was like they were my favorite band, and to get to join them was like a dream come true.
Exactly.
And it changed my life. I mean, entirely.
Right. And you were really close with the Orbison family, and
Barbara and Roy were dear friends. So Roy and I really got close after he did my song. He wanted to do another one on his next record, and he passed away at that time. I had just got off the road with Fleetwood Mac when I got that sad news about Roy,
Yeah. And then, but
And Roy,
you did go and when they had when he was inducted into the Hall of Fame in Milwaukee.
no,
Now he
that was
went.
in Cleveland. We did a.
Oh, in Cleveland, you're right. Why do I keep saying? I
We
keep
did
thinking
a. That's
Milwaukee.
where the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is, and we
Right.
did a show for a
Right.
tribute to Roy.
Right.
And that's when Glenn was on the
Right.
show.
Yep.
And Raoul Mallow and the Crickets.
Ricky
were on
Skaggs was there. I remember.
Who?
Ricky Skaggs.
Ricky Skaggs is there. You're right.
Yeah, because I went there
And
with Dad.
Andy
Yeah.
Barnett.
In fact, I took that picture of you
know.
and Dad that's in your book.
Yeah, yeah. I got to give you credit for that. I didn't even know.
Yes, you better. No, I'm kidding. That's funny. That's funny. I loved it that our lives were so intertwined, Billy, even though I really didn't know you.
Yeah.
Because you weren't in LA. You know, I knew Rocky and Randy, your cousins, because their mom, Thurley, eventually, after Johnny was killed, Dad kind of took Thurley and the boys under his wing, and Thurley actually.
I know. Yeah.
Yeah, and Thurley
I
was
actually
Dad's secretary.
I lived out there then. I was back and forth between Nashville and Memphis, you know, but then I said I got to live in LA, so that's when I joined Fleetwood Mac. LA was where I joined it at, you know.
Right.
And I stopped coming to Nashville about the late 80s then, you know.
Okay. Yeah.
So my life has been back and forth, you know, so many times I can't believe it. You know?
Right. And your mom, oh my gosh, she was Billy's great friend, you know.
They were great friends. And
Billy mom, Alberta.
Well, they all used to go out together with Glenn and Roger Miller and his wife. And, and Billy, Jean, and you know, everybody. That's a tight bunch of friends, you know.
Yeah, I remember we had a birthday party for Roger one year up at the house on Edwin, and Roger was a big McDonald's fan.
Oh yeah.
So Billy had him a McDonald's birthday cake made. It was a cake shaped like a Big Mac.
Yeah.
And Jimmy Bowen was there, and I remember that. That was pretty fun.
Wow.
Yeah. So then I think it was after Johnny died that Dad, you know, that Thurley started working for Dad or whatever. But Johnny what a horrific accident. And I was amazed that a boat that ran into him and killed him on Clear Lake was also the guy that was driving that boat was the one that was responsible for James Dean's car accident.
Yeah, isn't that weird? I didn't find that out. In fact, I even told Rocky, my cousin, that after I found out about it, because I was reading the updates and, you know, I was on the internet a lot.
Right.
I just saw that little tidbit one day. I think one of my researchers for the book found that and told me that story, and I looked it up, and I told Rocky about it, and he said, was his name Donald Turnipseed? And I go, yeah, that's him.
Wow.
And it was the same guy, and my Aunt Thurley never pressed any charges against him or anything, but he was driving the boat, and it was that night. They were supposed to have a light on the boat.
And then years later, you were out there on that lake.
Years later, I was with Fleetwood Mac. We were doing a show there. They had a little shell there on the lake, the beautiful lake. And I was returning the boat, and the engine went out, and I go, oh, my God, don't tell me this is going to be history repeating itself.
Right, exactly. Do. Oh, yeah. I know.
So that was kind of freaky and weird.
Right. You know, what's funny, I didn't realize that your mom was the one that introduced Thurley to Johnny. I didn't know they were friends.
Oh, yeah, they worked at the Peabody in Memphis together. Yeah.
I love that hotel. That is such a
do too. I still know the people that own that, and I still stay down there every time I go.
Yeah, Dad and I stayed there. When I was on the road with Dad, we stayed there all the time. And, of course, where'd you go when you were at the Peabody? You had to go to Lansky's.
Oh, yeah, Lansky's, yeah. And then you had to go down to Blue City Cafe and eat, you know, to get the barbecue and stuff.
Yeah, that was funny when I read that your dad and Johnny and them were buying the Lansky shirts. Yeah. Because Dad loved those shirts.
Oh, you know? They bought all that stuff. In fact, I think Elvis got a lot of his, what he was doing was what my dad and uncle were doing way before he hit, you know.
Right. Oh, my gosh, yeah.
So if it hadn't have been for my dad and uncle, I don't know if there might have been a different Elvis Presley, you know, for us to see today, because they really had a lot of influence on them.
Yeah. Now you not only wrote this book, But you also have a CD out, the same,
Yes, I have one.
of the
Yeah,
same
the
name?
CD. Did I
I
not
mean,
send you the CD?
no, no. But I'll
Oh,
come.
okay. I'll
I'll
have to
come
send
to
it.
Nashville and get it from you.
Yeah.
But I
And you'll
was
have to give
reading.
me your book then.
I will. Yeah, I was reading all these songwriting songs that you've written for people, Billy. You must be a zillionaire.
No, it was like I was really blessed to have all my heroes do my songs.
But George
And
Strait, Alan Jackson, Tammy Wynette, Greg Allman. I mean, Christine McVie, of course. Dad did "Ain't It Just Like Love," and
yeah,
also what? "Let's All Sing About It."
yeah,
Yeah, and then Faith Hill, Ray Charles, and Bonnie Raitt. Billy,
yes.
come on. There's pages
That was
and
a good one.
pages,
Yeah.
pages and
That one
pages.
with Ray Charles and Bonnie Raitt won, I think, like they won a lot of Grammys for that record that year.
Oh yeah, Grammy-winning album of the year and pop album of the year.
Yes, yeah, it was.
Did
Yeah.
you get a Grammy for that?
Do I ever, darling, ever cross your mind?
I got a little certificate. I got a picture of one. They send the
Let's see.
songwriters pictures of a Grammy.
Right. And then, of course, a lot of with Fleetwood Mac, Charlie Pride,
Yes.
Gary Allen, Gretchen Wilson. I mean, Tanya Tucker. I mean,
Yeah.
Billy, come on. You've got over like 100 people that have recorded your songs. That's amazing.
I didn't set out to be a songwriter. It just kind of like people would get my albums and like the tunes and would have,
Right.
success with them,
So,
They
does
had
it just
much more than
flow?
I did.
Does it just flow from you, songwriting? I mean, how many songs can you write in one day, you think?
Oh God, I've slowed it way down. It's like I'm not even really inspired as much as I used. I used to write every day
Uh-huh.
because I had a publishing company with Barbara Orbison, and
Okay.
Barbara was my publisher, and so they had some people around there that would listen to songs, and they would put me together with people every day. In fact, I wrote one song one day. I remember with 4 writers. It was Little Big Town.
Oh my
I sat
goodness.
in an office and wrote this song. Yeah.
Which one did you write? Did
I
they
wrote one.
record
It
it?
wasn't a hit. It wasn't famous or whatever, but it was something that we never finished. In fact, I got a cassette of it here somewhere.
Oh my
And I
gosh, you got to
think
get that finished.
I see them at the airport once in a while, and I go, "We got to finish our song," and they go, "Yeah, we got to."
Exactly.
And it's actually a good song because I was going to get them to help me finish it, and then they got so big you can't. I just see them at the gas station, or once. I've always run into artists at the gas station. In fact, we got one of our songs. We got cut by the Everly Brothers. My one of my best friends, Larry Henley, at the time, who wrote the song "Wind Beneath My Wings."
Uh-huh.
We're writing. He gave this song to Don Everly at the bank, and they ended up cutting that song.
Wow. Now, do you have any Grammys, Billy? I was looking and I didn't.
I don't
Grammys?
have any. No,
No. Okay.
we've been nominated and been knocking on that door for a while, but it's just a little trophy, whatever. But I'd like to have one.
Well, I think it's your time now. I think you better get that song finished
Yeah.
with Little Big Town. And I'm sure you've got a vault in your house of songs that probably could be huge.
I've got so many songs I can't even remember them all.
Do you still pitch a lot? I mean,
I have my son Billy Jr. pitches a lot.
right.
In fact, he runs my site. In fact, if I don't mention BillyBurnette.net, he'll kill me because he always says when I do an interview to always remember that name because.
Oh, we're going to cut that out, Greg. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. We'll put it in the credits.
Yeah, BillyBurnette.net is where you can get the book and you can get the record and
Right. Okay.
T-shirt, whatever you need, you know.
So it's not BillyBurnettJr.net.
No, it's BillyBurnette.net.
Okay. I met Billy and Bo. I think it was for Bo's birthday.
Yeah,
I was out in Nashville with Tanya.
Yeah.
And we were out at that, what's the Italian restaurant that everybody goes to out there?
God, Antonio's?
It's right on the corner. And she said, let's go.
Oh, that was right across the street from where Tanya lived at the time.
No, she wasn't living there yet. No, she wasn't living there then. This was like it's not been recent, but it's been a few years back.
Yeah.
It was, I think, while I was in Nashville visiting Dad, probably. When he was at the home, you know.
Yeah.
But she said, I think Bo's having a birthday, and I think Presley was with us, if I remember. But
yeah,
we went down.
Right. Yeah.
We went right down a couple of places right down from where this Italian restaurant that we had been at, and I met Billy and Bo that night. I think that's the first time I've ever met him. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice guy.
Well, me and Tanya, we used to hang out all the time, so that could have been anywhere, you know.
Right. Well, you know, she's big stuff now.
I know. I'm so proud of her.
But I did just. She
actually did the Super Bowl with us and Fleetwood Mac, and God, what year was that? It was like L.A. was they weren't in the Super Bowl that year. It was just, and Stevie had just left the band, so that would have been early 90s.
Okay.
One of those Super Bowls they had at the Coliseum out there. And we did the pregame show, and Michael Jackson did the show that day.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Billy, you have just lived a lifetime in this book. I'm telling you.
It's.
I mean, I was shocked. I had no idea. I'm like, oh my gosh. And so anybody, you better get this book because this is rock and roll royalty here, you know, rockabilly royalty, you know. I mean, you have just played with some of the greatest people, written for some of the greatest artists, and I can't wait to hear the CD. I really want to, you know, I've never seen Fleetwood Mac in concert.
Really?
No, I did meet Mick Fleetwood because Dad and I were in London and we were doing the Jules Holland show.
Oh yeah, I've done that show many times.
Yeah, and Mick was on that. Well, maybe he wasn't on that particular one because I think the one that Dad did was with Coldplay, which they were on that one.
Yeah, okay.
And gosh, his name is escaping me right now. I can't.
Jules Holland.
No, the guy, Mellencamp. John Mellencamp was on that night. Yeah. Dodie, is it Dodo? Dodie, the British female. Dodie, D-O-D-I. I don't know, but there was some.
Yeah.
Oh, and Cage the Elephant.
Cage the Elephant, okay. Oh, you're talking about artists, yeah.
Yeah, they were on the show that night, and that was quite a show.
Yeah.
And it was really funny because those Cage the Elephant, they were kids, you know. Yeah. But they knew who Dad was because of their parents, and because they lived in the.
We used to go, and I used to hang out all the time at a producer friend of mine's house here named Tony Brown.
Oh, I know.
Jules Holland was over there one night. We jammed all night, and he had, you know. Then later on, I ended up doing the show. I think second or third time I was on there with John Fogerty. I played on there with. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I think I met. You know what? I went to. Roy Orbison's sons.
Yes.
Were doing a book signing.
Yes.
And I went and I met them there. And I think that was Tony Brown that came there that I met.
Probably was. Yeah, they're all really good friends.
Yeah. And
in fact, Barbara was really close with Tony.
Okay. And didn't he do stuff with Tanya, I want to say?
Yeah, he produced He produced all the George Strait hits, the Judds, and his track record is a mile long. So.
Right. So do you get to LA much to see Rocky and Randy, or just?
I need to get out there soon. I haven't been out there in forever. Last time I was there, I was doing a gig down in one of the hotels down in Mexico.
Right.
And I stopped and stayed the night, and I was going to go see them, but it took me an hour to go over and get a In-N-Out burger. So I said, God, it was going to take me this long. I better just stay here at the hotel. So I ended up not seeing anybody because I could actually see the In-N-Out Burger from my hotel, but by the time we got there and got back to my hotel, it was time to go to sleep, you know?
Oh my gosh. I've never had an In-N-Out burger.
You never have.
No, and I've never had a Krispy Kreme either.
Oh, man.
Or a Cinnabon. I just look at them and my hips get huge, you know? So I'm like, just stay away from
my mom dreams about those. She's
how
a fitness
funny.
girl, so.
You better get to Vegas and see your mom too.
Yeah.
Yeah, next time I go, I'm going to go see her. You know what? Do you travel with your own band ever, or are you just out on the road with other artists now?
Right now, since I was supposed to be out on the road right now with a guy, he's kind of private, Bob Dylan.
Yeah.
And
Very
I did
private.
one tour with him. Yeah. And I usually, you know, just stay home and write a lot. And I do some gigs here. I do a lot of the festivals in Europe.
Okay.
So I had a few of those booked. I had one booked in Chicago and some other gigs. So my gigs are like usually where there's a band, because I travel alone these days because band's hard to do. You know, it's like a lot of money to tour with.
It's expensive, yeah.
So I usually I have a band in Italy.
Uh-huh.
I have a band in Spain. I have two in Sweden.
Wow.
And they know all my stuff. So I really just need to go over there myself, and they, you know.
And you put it together, just a little day rehearsal, and you're ready to go.
These days you can send them CDs on the internet, you know, and they can have the whole show and learn it in a couple of days, you know.
But doesn't that kind of make you nervous if you just don't have one person that's not traveling with you that knows all your stuff, like a keyboard player or a...
But you know what? I'm
not nervous, nervous.
I know these guys, and we usually break it up. The first thing we do is do some of my dad and uncle stuff, like Tear It Up and some songs that every musician in the world knows, you know.
Right.
So I'm kind of lucky in that fact that I can do half the show of my dad and uncle songs, and now these guys all know them anyway.
Right. Oh. Do you ever do anything in Vegas? Do you know a band in Vegas that you? Well,
I'm with a band called the Classic Rock. It's a classic rock band, and we have the drummer from Boston, who's still in Boston, Curly Smith. Steve Ajuri, who was the second singer with Journey. We had a guy that was from Aerosmith with us, and so we're able to do all these hits, and I do the Fleetwood Mac stuff, and you know, it's a pretty good paying gig when we can find them, you know.
Right, but if you were to get a gig in Vegas, would you have a band on the West Coast that would come?
Well, we've done a few conventions there in Vegas with this rock band.
Yeah.
Classic rock band.
Right. Right. You know, because, you know, my manager and my best friend, she books all the entertainment on Fremont Street.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, she just booked Billy Ray, and she just booked Rick Springfield in August, I think.
Oh, cool.
She has certain genres each month that they book.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know what
Billy Ray Cyrus you're talking about?
Yep. I don't know what...
Becca was just working with him for a while, Becca Bramlett.
Oh, okay.
Who I did a record called Becca and Billy for a while, and she was after Stevie quit, she joined the band for about a year or so.
Okay.
And Becca's one of my best friends in the world. In fact, her mom and dad was one of my favorite rock bands, Delaney and Bonnie and Friends.
Right. Oh, yeah. I remember reading about them in your book.
And I played with them, I think, when I was about 18 or something, you know.
Right.
So, Becca's one of the greatest singers in the world, you know.
Really? I don't know if I've heard her.
Billy Ray for a while, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know, I met him once. Dad and I were doing a show in Toronto. It was a corporate gig. Yeah. And he was filming Doc. Yeah. That when he was doing that TV show Doc, and he came to the corporate show. Billy, he's one of the nicest men I think I've ever met.
He's a very nice person. In fact, I did, when he had Achy Breaky Heart out, I was the voice for the Chipmunks.
Oh, how funny.
So I did Achy Breaky Heart with him as a duet.
Oh, how funny.
And he sat there and he went, now I know I've made it. I'm singing with the Chipmunks.
He got on stage with Dad that night during the show, and they sang Achy Breaky Heart.
Oh, great. Okay.
And I am sick that I do not have a video. I am sick. Wow. I have asked every band member, every person. I mean, I just wish I could throw it out in corporate America. If you were at this show and you took a video of Glen and Billy singing this song, would you please send it? You know,
That's crazy.
I would give anything to have that. Yeah, but
Yeah.
well, gosh, I am so happy I got to spend time with you. Is there anything else you'd like to talk about, like you want to plug that I haven't?
Just the BillyBurnette.net, and
of course, yes.
the fact that I love your dad so much and was such a dear friend of mine.
I loved your whole family.
He was such a great person.
Yes, he loved all the Burnettes.
To know, and I got to know him. I got to know him as a kid. You know, when I was a little kid, I used to come out and sing and play and whatever. But I didn't really get to know him until I was an adult, playing with Roger Miller. That
might have not been great years, would it?
We hung out all night, every night. And Roger was in Vegas.
And you remember all those nights, right?
They were crazy nights. But we were all just having fun, you know. Everybody was having fun. I think last thing I remember, I saw your dad at the Desert Inn in Vegas, or one of them hotels there.
Right. He played the Riviera a lot. He played, when I remember as a kid, at the Riviera.
Maybe it was the Riviera, yeah.
It might have been, yeah. And then he switched over to the Hilton.
Yeah.
Or was he at the Hilton first and then went to the Riviera?
I was playing with Roger at the Hilton, with Roger and John Davidson at the time.
Oh, wow.
And we were playing at the Hilton. And I remember we used to see Roger at night because he was always in town working somewhere.
Right.
And Glen and Roger were like, you know.
They were like this.
Brothers,
they were always, yeah. I mean, I probably know every Roger Miller.
You couldn't have one without the other, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I finally met Roger's son, Dean.
Yeah, Dean, I know.
Yeah. I met him a couple years ago. They asked me to come and do the Second Generation show in Nashville.
Oh, yeah.
And Dean was doing interviews for some thing that he was a project he was putting together. He looks a lot like
I love Glen so much. I remember my dad used to always talk about Glen recorded Hey Little One, which my dad wrote.
Oh, right. I love that. Wait, stay right there. I want to show you something. I'm sure it's right here, but hang on. But it's not where I thought it was. I have a album purse.
Yeah.
And the cover is Hey Little One.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Yeah, because that red guitar that Dad played on the cover.
Oh, yeah.
I love that, you know.
That was the cover for Hey Little One.
I know.
You know, which my dad used to always tell the story. Glenn called him down one night to listen to his new session because he was trying to figure out the single. And it was between By the Time I Get to Phoenix and Hey Little One.
Right.
And so he listened to By the Time I Get to Phoenix, he goes, Glenn, you know what? I really like that, but it doesn't have a chorus.
And it became a really big hit.
So it became one of Glenn's biggest hits, you know. And
Hey Little One, I can't remember if Hey Little One did it do really well?
It did really. It was his next single.
Okay,
so it was the B-side of Phoenix.
But I don't think it hit like a number one or.
No, it wasn't a number one.
Right.
There's very few of those. I think, in fact, the whole Fleetwood Mac career, they've only had one number one single. And that
was
by Stevie, yeah.
Wow. What was the song?
It was Dreams.
Wow.
Yeah. So, yeah, that did really good. It still does good by Glen. Had one of the big hits on Hey Little One.
Yeah. Well, I don't guess Fleetwood Mac needed any more number one hits because I'm sure they've had a very lucrative.
Oh, they had their album was number one for a year with Rumors, you know. So
right.
How do you top that one, you know?
Right. Oh my gosh. That's good. So what's next for Billy? Just Europe, hopefully?
What's next? Well, these days I like to sleep a lot. Stay up all night watching
Billy,
TV.
you can sleep when you die.
I love to watch TV and I love the movies.
So what are you streaming?
Been under this pandemic, I think I've watched I know every episode of Friends by heart now, you know.
Oh, you know what? I'm hoping to interview Phil.
Oh, really?
Yes. Yes.
Oh, cool.
Because he was in the band with them. You know, he's one of the band members for that, Phil Solem. So what else do you stream? I
do whatever comes along. Like I said, I was supposed to be in Europe. Most of my work is during July and August in Europe.
Right.
So I'm supposed to be over there now. You know, I'm supposed to be over there all of July and August of this year.
Right.
And I have plenty of festivals that I do, and I'm over there all the time with this band called the Cadillac Band. So I go over there with James Burton or some other guitar players or whoever.
Yeah. Yeah.
And play with them, and they're great guys. And it's I tour up in Norway a lot, and I write a lot over there. So I've written with this new band called the Tennessee Tears, and we've written a whole album which will be out soon.
Nice. Okay, great. You'll have to let me know.
So that's coming out.
I've never been to Sweden. I've never been to Norway, any of those. You know, I've been to Europe, a lot of Europe.
Yeah.
But I've never been up into those areas. I'd love to. My stepdad's family's from Finland.
Oh, okay, yeah.
You know.
Been there many times, yeah.
Yeah, and my ex-husband.
Touring with Fleetwood Mac, I did 4 or 5 world tours, and when I was with John Fogerty, I was with him 7 years, and we did 7 world tours with him.
Wow. Every year? Every year was a world tour? Yeah. Wow. Dad was getting like that for a little while, but we would only go to like England, Scotland, Ireland, Wales, Australia, New Zealand, you know. In fact, I was talking, I don't know if you know, you probably don't know Graham. He's like an Elvis impersonator.
Yeah.
But he's got this manager in Germany. I guess this manager is the one that owns that hotel where Michael Jackson got the bad press from the baby dangling over.
Oh, really? Okay.
But Graham is huge over there, Billy, and he is the best Elvis impersonator I've ever seen. Ever.
Wow, that's incredible.
I mean, he used to be in Vegas at Legends.
Yeah.
And then now he's in Germany, but he goes to all those places like Norway and Sweden and thousands. I mean, we're talking 50,000 people.
No, I know.
Fills those arenas, you know, it's crazy. Those people must not, I mean, surely they get a lot of music over there in those areas.
Yeah.
I mean, but
it's amazing. I do all my dad and uncle stuff over there, and they love it, you know.
Wow, even the young kids.
I do a few Fleetwood Mac things, and
right.
You know, that's why I say I really don't need a band when there's players over there.
Right now, are the audiences a younger audience or is it an older audience?
It's all mixed. Sometimes I'll play a younger audience. Sometimes it'll be, you know, whatever, but it's anywhere from 500 to 5,000 to more.
Right. Wow, that's awesome.
So you never know, you know.
Yeah, I just like to come over with you just tag along just to see those countries.
Come on. They'd love to have you, I'm sure. They would.
But in the summer.
Yeah. Yeah, you don't want to go over there during the winter.
Oh my gosh, I bet it's like freezing cold.
Crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm a really big fan of the Vikings. Have you ever streamed any of the Viking series?
Okay, yeah.
Yes, I mean, I've watched all the Viking series. So I'd really like to go to Oslo because I think they have a Vikings museum up there.
Yeah. There was an artist I wrote a song for that was a big hit. In fact, it was in the Eurovision Awards. Oh. And we came in second on that, yeah.
Oh, nice. Very nice.
But it's one of my biggest hits with a foreign artist over there, you know.
Right.
Wasn't a big hit, but over there it was like, it did pretty well. You know.
Yeah, and didn't Rocky used to go over to Europe quite a bit, didn't he?
Rocky went over, yeah. In fact, he got me into a lot of these rockabilly things, you know.
That's awesome. And you guys wouldn't do anything together?
We did a lot of things together.
Yeah.
We used to go over there and do them shows together. Yeah.
Right. I remember Dad and I were in, I think it was England one year, and I like to go to thrift shops.
Yeah.
And markets, you know, they have a lot of markets in England. And I found a Rocky Burnette album in one of the markets, and it was sealed. It wasn't opened.
Wow.
And I bought it and brought it home. I'm like, oh my gosh, Rocky, look what I got.
Oh, wow, that's cool.
But I'm not going to open it.
I'll probably talk to him later on today, so I'll tell him that.
Yeah, tell him I talked about him in his album. Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, give him my love. And Billy, thank you for coming on. I love you. I feel you just feel like family. You know, I mean.
Thank you for having me, and the same back at you. I mean, you have always been like family to me. You know.
Yep. And
I'll come. The Burnettes were as tight as you can get.
I know it, and just normal people. You know, just loving music and everybody intertwined, and tell Billy I'll make sure that we give him credit. BillyBurnette.net.
Okay. Cool. Thank you for doing that. Yeah.
No, thank you, and everybody, make sure you get this book, Crazy Like Me by Billy Burnette, and he has a CD out of the same name. It's an awesome, awesome read. And I love you
so much, Deb.
So much. And I'll come see you next time I'm in Nashville.
You better.
All right, honey. We'll
go get some barbecue and get you a Krispy Kreme and some Crystal burgers.
No, I don't even eat meat.
Okay. well, you need a donut.
I've started weaning back towards chicken a little bit.
Oh, okay. Well, then we'll take you for some hot chicken.
There we go.
That's the new thing in Nashville now is the hot, spicy chicken.
Oh, okay. It's not the place where they have waffles with it, is it?
Yeah.
Oh, is it? Oh, funny.
The waffles and chicken, yeah.
Oh, great. So we can go for breakfast then.
We'll go there. It's right around the block from me here. Yeah.
All right. I love you, Billy.
Love you too.
Thank you, sweetheart.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
I am so happy that you wanted to be interviewed. That makes me happy.
Thank you, Debbie.
Fills my heart. All right. Give my love to the boys and your family. Tell your mom.
Your show and all your watchers, and I love your family and love you and everybody.
Oh, thank you, Billy. And I love you too. All right. You too, hon.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
And that's our show for today, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Debby Campbell Goodtime Show. Of course, my fabulous guest, Billy Burnette. My love. Hi, Alberta. I love you. And to all the Burnette family out there. And come back next week when we have another great guest. Y'all have a wonderful evening and be kind.
She's burning the honky-tonks down. Burning the honky-tonks down. The smoke's been rising all over town. She's burning the honky-tonks down. She's burning the honky-tonks down. She caught me running around. She was dancing in the ashes. They caught her with their matches. She's burning the honky-tonks down. Yeah, she's burning the honky-tonks down. I tried, but I could not put them out. I did the best to save the whiskey, but the flames were just too risky. She's burning the honky-tonks down. She's burning the honky-tonks down. She could not stop that honky-tonk sound. Yeah, it was sizzling like a griddle when I ran out with my fiddle. She's burning the honky-tonk sound.